This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Here we are. It is T-2. T-2. In 2 days, ladies and gentlemen, if all goes according to the way we think it is, or will go, there will be a peaceful transfer of power, out with the old, in with the new for a second term. Inauguration Day, Monday. And already the angst is building among the left. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Vibe. I am James Golden, Bo Snerdley. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. If you want to be on the program, of course, this morning we are looking forward to hearing from America's Princess of Policy, Princess Diana, later in the program, America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Shrock, around Lizzie Radabali. And there is plenty to talk about with Lizzie. Cannot wait. Can't wait to talk to all of them, of course, but Tik Tok. Yes, my friends, Tik Tok says today they're going to go dark. They're going to shut it down. And this, I, for one, will miss. If TikTok does go dark, I will miss TikTok. Do you use TikTok? No, I don't use TikTok, but I see enough of the stuff that comes off of TikTok, and I play some of it here. So I will miss it. The angst is already building. There will be demonstrations. Of course, as you may know, the inauguration is going to be moved indoors to the J6 Capitol Rotunda, which I think is just wonderfully ironic. It will be Donald Trump being sworn in as President of the United States in the J6 Rotunda. In the Capitol building, present will be members of the opposition party that choose to show up. Some of the high-profile Democrats have already indicated they will not show up, including former First Lady Michelle Obama, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and a few others. There's a story, ladies and gentlemen, on the Daily BS this morning. Kamala goes full cat lady in the last-minute snub of Usha Vance. Apparently, Kamala hasn't talked to the incoming vice presidential spouse, as they're supposed to be moving into the Naval Observatory, and there has been just cold as ice treatment of Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his wife before they move into the home that what will be their home for the next 4 years. Since the 1970s, of course, every vice president has lived at the Naval Observatory. The Vances have 3 children. They reached out in November 2024 after the election. Usha Vance attempted to contact Kamala Harris and her husband about baby-proofing concerns and the like, and they were rebuffed. Finally, Navy officials stepped in and gave the Vance family an overview of the house in December. Usha Vance spoke with Doug Imhoff for about 40 minutes last week. However, Kamala Harris hasn't spoken to the Vance family or their intermediaries at all. A wall of silence. Now, she may have her feelings hurt because of some of the things that I believe were said during the campaign season, but I thought among the enlightened liberal Democrat class that all of that sort of stuff is supposed to be put aside in the interest of what's best for the country. There is fear, palatable fear, over what will take place on Tuesday. Let me look at two headlines to demonstrate. Here's one from the New York, where's the New York Times? I see the Wall Street Journal one. Well, I'll start with that one, okay. Trump to begin large-scale deportations Tuesday. Chicago will be an early target, with as many as 200 officers being sent to carry out the operation. The incoming Trump administration is planning a large-scale immigration raid in Chicago next week, according to 4 people familiar with the planning. The first move in President-elect Donald Trump's promised mass deportation campaign. The raid is expected to begin on Tuesday morning, a day after Trump is inaugurated, and will last all week. It isn't clear how many people the operation will actually target. Trump's team is planning to work with several right-leaning media outlets to amplify the efforts. Oh, I'd love that. The transition team, according to the Wall Street Journal, had been contemplating cities to target in day one operations. They settled on Chicago because of the large number of immigrants who could be possible targets, and because of the Trump team's high-profile feud with the city's Democrat mayor, Brandon Johnson. Now, I love this. This is great. Brandon Johnson, Mr. GQ Mideast, mid-country. Brandon stepped right up and talked about how he was going to resist. Residents of Chicago have been begging Donald Trump to come and please bring some order, some semblance of order to that city. And so, and the governor, Pritzker, who is just, anyway, he's also been pretty vocal, a very vocal critic of Donald Trump. And so they raised their hands. They raised their hands and said, look at us. We're going to be the face of resistance. And guess what? It paid off. They were noticed. So beginning on Tuesday, if the reports are correct, the first mass deportation raids begin in Chicago. I, for one, am looking forward to it. There were a number of others. Yesterday on my local show, I played excerpts, sound bites from 2 different areas. One is from Jefferson County, Jeffco, Colorado, where you had a school board member outlining their plans to, well, she didn't go into specifics, but outlining the fact that they want to resist and that they're going to help the students anybody caught up with it, the businesses in the area. It's like, what gives a school board member the right to think that she can stand up to federal law that she happens to disapprove of? And the same thing happened with another school board person speaking in defiant terms out in Portland, Maine. I suggest that for every one of these liberals who raises their hand and says they want to resist, that they're planning on resist, put a pin in the map. If you're not going to visit them right away, make sure they get put on the schedule. Tom Homan, the administration's incoming border czar, was in Chicago last month. He told a holiday party on Chicago's north side, the Gold Coast. We're going to start right here in Chicago, Illinois. And if the Chicago mayor doesn't want to help, he can step aside. But if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors or conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him. This is music, sweet soul music to many of our ears. The Democrat Party has gotten away with, for decades now, creating their own laws that are opposed to the federal government laws. I use a bad word, according to liberals, the word supremacy. Federal law has supremacy in the legal definition over state law. Yet you have California willfully, arrogantly declaring themselves a sanctuary. The same thing with Chicago, the same thing with other cities. We're just going to stick our middle finger up to the federal government, to immigration law, to anybody that calls for America's laws to be followed. And you see it all the way from the governors of these states down to these school board officials who are parading around and posting on social media their plans to, quote-unquote, resist. It is past time that these people be taken on squarely with the full weight and force of federal authority. It's time to put an end to this nonsense in this country. And so Tuesday, apparently it starts. And to me, it can't start too soon. Now, there are expected to be a lot of the Washington Post did a big story today on Donald Trump moving the inauguration indoors and how much angst, how many problems, how many people it's going to hurt. So it's just cold weather is kind of the attitude. It's just cold weather. This weather's supposed to be in single digits. When people are standing around in single-digit weather with wind chills, that makes the weather feel like below zero. And to have many thousands of people outside for hours upon hours in sub-zero temperatures is a good reason to move. And he's not the first. Ronald Reagan, I believe, had to move one of his inaugurations indoors. It is not the first time that cold weather in D.C. in January has forced the inauguration indoors. But, of course, it's viewed with criticism in what's left of Jeff Bezos' Washington Post. We're going to take a quick break. Coming back, ladies and gentlemen, shortly, Pink Floyd. Islington Green School, North London, on this day in 2007, was fighting plans to change the school into an academy. This is a famous school because some of their students were featured on Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. We don't need no business control. Hey, bankers, leave our kids alone. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here. Don't go away.
This is the James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
January 18, the year of our Lord, 1964. The Beatles made their U.S. chart debut the day but when I Wanna Hold Your Hand entered America's record charts at number 45. It quickly went up to the number 1 position in the U.S. charts and stayed there. Stayed there for 7 weeks. It was then displaced by another Beatles single, She Loves You. This one remained the Beatles' best-selling single worldwide, over 12 million copies. James Golden. It is a Saturday morning vibe. Okay, before the break, I'm looking at the clock to see if we have time to do this before the break, and I don't believe that we do. So we'll just wait until afterwards. But one of the most cynical things in American politics, cynical, and actually pretty, I can't explain the thinking that went into this. Joe Biden unilaterally declared an amendment to the Constitution that supposedly has the force of law. The problem is, he didn't have the authority to do it. It's not in the Constitution. It won't be in the Constitution. It's an exercise in futility, but to me, it just redounds badly on him. We'll talk about that and more when we get back. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
On this day in 2016, the co-founder of the Eagles, Glenn Frey, passed away 67 in New York City. Believe it or not, complications arising from rheumatoid arthritis, colitis, and pneumonia. After the Eagles broke up in 1980, Glenn went on to have a very, very successful solo career. Scored some top 40 hits, The One You Love, Smuggler's Blues, The Heat Is On, The Heat Is On, and You Belong to the City. Guitarist Glenn Frey. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you here. The Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848-9222. T-2. The new Trump administration begins on Monday. 12:01. And people, can you imagine the folks that are going to be going to their TikTok accounts to comment on it, to vent their rage, to vent their conspiracy theories? And it's dark. There's nothing. What are they going to do? Sign up with Blue Sky? I don't think so. Unless, of course, there is a buyer for it. What's his name? I'll find that story. He's on CNBC all the time. He said he wants to put up a lot of billions of dollars to purchase it. We'll see what happens with that. Now, onward to Joe Biden. Cut 3. Let's just fire it off when ready, Carlos.
Just over 100 years ago, a pioneering group of women proposed the Equal Rights Amendment to enshrine the principles of gender equality in our Constitution. Throughout my career, I've been clear. No one should be discriminated against based on their sex. And in order for the amendment to be ratified, it requires 3/4 of the states to ratify it. That benchmark was passed when Virginia ratified the ERA a few years ago. Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendment to have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now. The Equal Rights Amendment is the law of the land now.
No, it's not.
It's the 28th Amendment to the Constitution now.
No, it's not.
I consulted dozens of constitutional scholars to make sure that it was all within the power to do this. And the fact is, we did.
Okay, now, the Equal Rights Amendment passed both houses of Congress with the required votes necessary to pass in 1972. It did. But over the next few years, it was supposed to be ratified by the 38 states in order to become a constitutional amendment. It did not meet that criteria. So what Congress did, they said, let's extend the deadline. So they extended the deadline. And guess what? It didn't meet the criteria. It failed to become ratified by 38 states by the deadline. It was a 7-year deadline that was put in place by Congress in 1972. After it failed, Congress went back and said, okay, let's give it 3 more years. 3 more years passed, so a total of 10 years. By 1982, it had still not got the 38 states to ratify it. And subsequently, the measure is dead in the water. Dead. It failed. It's gone. So in the year 2000, how many? 80, 19. Yes. The year 2000, 20 years afterwards, along comes now Blue Virginia and says, we want to ratify it. So they did. They passed it. But the deadline had passed 20 years ago. So now you have Joe Biden standing up his last days in office saying, I affirm that it has passed. This is what Democrats have wanted. Ignore the law, ignore the rules, just get what you want at all cost. So a frail Joe Biden stands up. I consulted with the experts. They tell me, and the experts, by the way, are not saying it. Many constitutional experts look at this for what it is, a naked political play that has no force of law, that has nothing that he says it does. What is in the Equal Rights Amendment, by the way? It just says pretty much that you can't discriminate on the basis of sex. The text of the amendment on its face says you can't discriminate over sex. Sex is the way that they put it. Sex. But that is already federal law. There was no need for this amendment. Now, what critics of it have always said, that if you, using the language that was drafted into this amendment, this proposed amendment, if it were ever to become law as a force of the Constitution, one of the first things that happens is it would open up women in this country for the mandatory draft. You want equal rights? Okay, men in times of war can be drafted. Right now we have a voluntary system, but if we ever get to mandatory draft, guess what? Women too. And that's just one reason that critics look at this as the way it was written as a bad law. So you have now voices like former Senator Russ Feingold, who's the president of the American Constitution Society. It's a progressive bunch. Has been pushing Joe Biden to order the Archivist of the United States to publish this as an amendment to the Constitution. The Archivist several times said, no, we're not going to do it. It doesn't meet the criteria. It did not get the 38 states in time. Oh, by the way, to complicate matters, in the years since all of this began transpiring, a few states that ratified it said, we want to take a look at this thing again and undo our vote. So if this thing is going to be fraught with all kind of legal challenges if they ever try it. But right now, the Archivist of the United States, rightly so, says nobody's taking this seriously. Just another, more showboating. More showboating to appease the left. Okay, I got something for you kooks. I'm sorry. Oops, sorry. Please let me recall. Yes.
What does kooks means?
What are kooks?
Yeah.
It is an acronym, Carlos, for the Keep Our Own Kids Safe organization. Keep Our Own Kids Safe.
Got it.
Okay. I have something for you. Cut 5. I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to please hear Bill Gates, a frequent subject in Keep Our Own Kids Safe news stories and news items and rumor mills. Here is the former big chief honcho at Microsoft, who is now engaged in all kind of different efforts. Here's Bill Gates. This surfaced last night.
Have you met with the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him.
What did you discuss? What was intriguing?
Well, we touched on a lot of things. It was over 3 hours. To my surprise, it was, just he and I, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and the person who helps manage things for me, Larry Cohen. So the four of us sat there, and it was quite wide-ranging. Global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here, and we both got, I think, pretty excited about that. We talked about polio, where we're very close to getting that done, but if you stop, it'll spread back. And so I explained why it's been tough in Pakistan, Afghanistan. We've had cases show up in Gaza. We have cases in Africa. And he was fascinated to hear what he could do to maximize the chance that during the next 4 years, that incredible milestone will be achieved. I felt like he was, energized and, looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed with how well he showed a lot of interest in the issues I brought up.
Did you hear that? Bill Gates wants to fast track more stuff. Now, there's also video out there of Robert F. Kennedy incoming. His nomination hearing should start pretty soon. Boy, those are going to be fireworks. But he's talking about something else, and that's an operation that Bill Gates is running. And let's just check in with Robert Kennedy Jr.
Bill Gates says one of his companies is putting up 61,000 low-altitude satellites to do Earth surveillance. He says that his company alone will be able to watch every square inch of the Earth at 24 hours a day.
Hear that?
So, the capacity of people to escape that kind of surveillance and to live, free lives is going to be the power. What we're creating is this kind of turnkey totalitarianism. We're the next totalitarian regime that steps up and really wants to clamp things down. They're going to have all of these mechanisms in place like no regime has had it in human history.
Well, I saw that. I said, what in the heck is he talking about? So I went back and did some research, and guess what? Guess what? The article's a lengthy one. It's from NBC. It starts back in the 90s when Bill Gates made a big bet on a company called Teledesic. It went bust. But then he invested big time back in 2022, dumped $84 million of investment in a company called Chimera, a flat panel antenna technology for global satellite and cellular connectivity. And then there's a lot more. So when Kennedy starts talking about this goal to put satellites that could watch every single square inch of the earth. I wonder if you people are paying attention. Oh, the Countess of Conspiracy weighed in. I don't understand this. Maybe you do, but I don't understand it. The Countess of Conspiracy just weighed in with one word as I'm doing the story. The word is murderer. I don't know what context to put that in. Anyway. Yeah. Thompson Twins. Tom Bailey, singer, songwriter, musician, with the Thompson Twins, has a birthday today. 1984, this one went to number 3 on the charts. Hold Me Now. James Golden, Snerdley, coming up. Lizzie, coming up. Princess Di, coming up. America's Small Caffeinated Mom, coming up. Your calls. And so much more. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
That's the voice of the legendary David Ruffin. Heavenly birthday today for David Ruffin, born in 1941 on this day. Along with The Temptations, so many hits. And then he did moderately well as a solo artist after they threw him out of the group. Yeah, it was a big deal. Replaced him with Dennis Edwards. Fans were quite annoyed. But David Ruffin had a good solo career. There's also another story that remains to be told. That's the full story of David Ruffin and Tammy Terrell, which I'm not going to get into at the moment. But Ruffin passed away of an accidental crack overdose back in 1991. Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin sang at the funeral. Michael Jackson volunteered to pay for all of the funeral expenses. One of the greatest soul singers of all time. David Ruffin. The Temptations. Yes, sir.
I mean, not to interrupt, but what's an accidental crack overdose?
Because Carlos, that is a brilliant question. That's a brilliant question. Because it perhaps means that there are some people who said intentionally, you know what? I want to overdose on crack on purpose. And they do it. And then other people say, oops, I accidentally overdosed on crack. I didn't mean it. But how do they tell when you're dead? Brilliant question, Carlos. Thank you. Let's head to the telephones very quickly. Steve in Florida. Got to make it quick, my friend. Thank you for waiting. How are you?
Yes, very good. The Ruffton guy there from Temptations. I got their first record on a cereal box. You cut it out, and it's a paper record. It was wonderful. One of my first records ever. And
nice.
There's a couple of things I was going to say. The Beatles concert, I was there. You could not hear the Beatles. All you could hear is the screaming of the girls and seeing them get hit by clubs, jumping on stage by the cops. Anyway, let's talk about Mr. Homan, Tom Homan. Tom Homan, I was reading, is going to file charges on, I guess we got a new Let's Go Brandon thing, I guess, new Brandon Johnson. And he says that if he interferes, if he harbors illegal aliens, he's going to have them arrested by the Immigration Service, And I guess he's the head of the Homeland Security. So I think
he's the Homeland Security czar, and he's saying, and absolutely, he's saying, look, if you interfere, you will be prosecuted, period.
Thing I want to say, I've been listening to you a long time. I'm a first-time caller. I've listened to you from Rush Limbaugh from the very beginning. I lived in California way back then, and I like you a lot. And I also I've been listening to WABC, from as a child. I think I saw the Beatles when I was 5 or 6 years old, and I recognized the Beatles from WABC and from what's his name on television. I got a mental block now. Who's the guy that started the Beatles?
Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan. There you go. Yeah.
Boom.
And one more thing I'll let you know. I'm the fella that was on the one that was pushing. I was campaigning for Curtis Lewa to be vice president for Trump. I said they both fight for law and order. They both have the
Well, Curtis Lewa has got his hands full with the mayor's race in New York, and I believe he's going to be running again. So, Steve from Florida, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening and for your kind comments. Appreciate it. The clock is ticking. I have, from the archives, Tom Homan taking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to school on immigration when it comes to child separation matters. We're going to hear that a little bit later on. In the meantime, keep it right here. The Saturday Morning Vibe, hour number 1 in the can, hour number duo, coming straight ahead. Our very own Lizzie's going to join us when we get back. Do not, whatever you do not go away.
This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends. Our number duo of the Saturday Morning Vibe with James Golden, Bo Snerdley gets underway. Of course, this is where we get a chance to hear from America's number one advocate of the working man and women, the oppressed working men and women of America. She is like Noah, power to the people. Right on, right on. And so many other news stories. And today, we're going to have a chance, we're not going to start with it, but we're going to have a chance to talk about the number one app for America's young folk might go dark in a few hours. It's our very own, our firebrand, Red Apple Media's superstar, ace reporterette, Lizzie Radabali. How are you, Lizzie?
I am doing excellent this morning, Bo. How are you? And power to the people as always. Absolutely.
Power to the people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about power to the people. What if you're walking around in Walgreens, and you're looking for some items, but you can't get to them because they're all locked up.
Yeah.
And you get frustrated and you just say, I'm tired of this. I'm getting out of here. What has Walgreens got to say about all of this? Many other retailers have too. This is a consequence, of course, of Democrat policies in blue cities everywhere that let criminals walk out free with merchandise and has real-world applications and liability. So what of it, Lizzie?
Well, so Walgreens is now saying that those prisons that they put their products in, those plastic guards, are actually not that effective and have actually been hurting their sales. They have not been, curbing shoplifting as much as they'd hoped. And they're actually, like you mentioned, hurting sales because people are just walking out of the stores because they're not interested. They see all these products and they're locked up. Sometimes, these places, they're short staffed, so you have to kind of walk around. They have those buttons where it's and it comes on the entire store speakerphone, a loudspeaker
ding,
saying,
ding, ding, I'll get that.
This stinky person needs deodorant. This stinky person needs deodorant over here. This dry and ashy girl needs some lotion. It's very embarrassing, honestly, the way that they have it set up. And it's all pointing and laughing at you, kind of. So people get sick of this, and they end up walking out, finding another store. And it's funny, we're talking about TikTok because I actually saw a TikTok about this topic. Some girl, she was in her suburban hometown CVS, and she was doing a little dance in the aisles because she says when you go to your suburban hometown CVS and all of the products are out of their plastic prisons, and this is a common sentiment that shoppers they're getting frustrated with. So
what are they supposed to do? They won't put the crooks in jail. They won't put the crooks in prison, so they have to put the products in prison.
Well, and those products aren't getting sold. So, they have to go back to the drawing board here. They have to think about, different solutions to fight, especially retail theft. They're the company's team says they're working on, quote, creative solutions.
Here's a creative solution. Throw the crooks in jail.
Or, here's a creative one. Hire, security workers. Hire security officers.
They already have them, but the security workers can't apprehend them and can't actually put these, because then you've got other liability issues.
Yeah, they gotta go.
Here's a creative solution: put the crooks in jail.
Well, Walgreens is not the government; they don't really have the power to do that.
Right,
so,
but the police should.
Instead
of these laws that let them walk out with theft and say it's a misdemeanor, put them in jail.
It's
for long periods of time.
This is one of those things where there is not really a clear solution.
It works. They don't steal when they're in jail.
Yeah, the saying, where there's a will, there's a way. It doesn't matter if these.
Here's another saying. This ain't new.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly
We've done this. We put crooks in jail, and they don't steal when they're in jail. And the crime rate goes down. This ain't new. This ain't hard.
A big problem with retail theft especially is that most of them, most of the theft rings are exactly that. They're rings. They're these complex structures, these systems, usually set up by someone really wealthy at the top. There was just recently a bust out in California of a retail theft ring. And this couple they were millionaires living out in Calabasas, and they were the head honchos of this retail theft
and you
ring.
know what? Guess what? This ain't hard either. We got RICO statutes for that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They're organized crime. Put them in jail too. Prison. Long time. Really long time.
Yeah, that's something.
Love them long time in jail.
Walgreens has to, maybe they lost, $245 million in the quarter for operating losses. That's what they say. So, and they're closing a bunch of locations, closing a bunch of stores. So, we'll see if, they actually come out of this victorious, if their new shortened staff and their tighter store locations, if those are going to see any decrease. Who knows?
Okay, in North Hudson, parents are questioning, Lizzie, a charge for picking up their kids late from school. What's going on there?
Yeah, so this, down in Texas, down in the Lone Star State, you get a Lone Star charge of $1 a minute if you are late picking up your kids from school. So this happened, two parents went to a local Fox 26, the Houston News, to share this story that after they picked up their child, they received a $62 charge because they picked up two kids and they were 31 minutes late. So thus amounting to that $62 charge. So it's not really clear if the school is able to actually have this $1 minute per child policy charge. It's apparently the fee applies for those who come after 3:30. Now, school dismissal is at 3 o'clock, so you have like a half-hour grace period there that they're giving parents. But then after that 3:30 time, every minute that you are late picking up your child, you are charged a single $1 per child. And, once again, people are like, does the school even really have the authority to do that? I mean, most fines and fees, they have to be board approved by the school district. So this clearly was not apparent, according to this parents.
Well, what a good idea, huh?
According to the parents, but one thing, to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here for the parents, they told Fox that the school's pickup line makes it harder to get your kids before that 3:30.
You got half an hour. Stop whining.
No,
get there early.
No,
get in line. Pick up your kids. Stop whining.
No,
get your crumb crunches. Take them home.
Apparently at 3:30,
well, wherever you're going to take
the
them.
line extends blocks away from the school. The line extends blocks from the school. Boo-hoo is right.
Get there early. Get your
how
kids.
early are they supposed to get there? These are working people.
As early as it takes to avoid the fines.
I mean, there's no way to determine that, though. And there's no way to determine also.
Yeah, it is.
No, there
Get there
at
2:30.
I mean,
get there at 2:30.
What happens if they get
Sit
there at 2:30
and talk on your
and they're
phone.
still,
Text to your neighbor.
What
get
happens?
Your kid.
What happens if they're
get
still
your kid on
online?
time.
What
get
happens if they're still online? What happens
get
if they're still online?
Then
what happens
pay the
if
fine.
they're still online? And why is
then
that
pay
fair?
the fine.
Why is that
You're still
fair? They were
online,
there
pay the fine.
And they were there half an hour early. They should pay a fine after they picked up their child half an hour early.
You weren't there early enough. Pay the fine.
That's ridiculous. Like, I honestly think
that's
that's
ridiculous. Get your kid.
No,
get your kid.
The school.
It's your kid. Get your kid. Get your kid on time.
Buck for their incompetence. They don't have the staffing
or
the
kid
competency
on time.
to get their kids. No, it's the school's fault. They don't have the competency.
You know where this is going, don't you, Lizzie?
The school.
We're going to run into some of these parents out here who are going to say, "What? $700 fine? Keep the kid." You know that's where this is going, right?
I doubt that's where this is going. I know what this policy is trying to do. It's trying to make it easier for the staff who's, watching these kids who are, stuck there late.
They're not the kids' parents. Get your kid.
Yeah, no. Let me finish. I'm saying I get where this is coming from. This is a frustration for the staffers, but also at the same time, clearly the staff is incompetent and unable to dismiss the kids in an orderly fashion. That the fact that there's still a line at 3:30 after a 3 o'clock dismissal, that's ridiculous. What's taking so long to get these kids out? This is the school just passing the buck.
Get your kids
to the poor parents.
Collect your kids.
These parents have to work. Parents have to feed their kids. Parents have to put food on the table. Parents have to put a roof over their head. And in order to do that, they have to go to work. And guess what? They can't get out of work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to go wait on the line
kids or
for 2
hire a
hours
babysitter.
because this school can't get their kids out on time. That's ridiculous.
Get your kids.
That's ridiculous.
Get your kids.
No, they're trying to get their kids, and the school stinks. The school sucks. So apparently,
Lizzie, we're going to have to take a break. You're going to have to hold on because we got to talk about Tik Tok, and we're running over time here. I need you to hold on. Get your kids. School is over at 3 o'clock. Be there. Get your kids. Lizzie's going to stay over. Who's this, Carlos?
These are the Monkeys. The Monkeys were at number 1 with this song, I'm a Believer, which I really like because it's a feature in one of my favorite movies called Shrek.
Really? You like a group called the Monkeys?
No, I like Shrek. And
Shrek's the best.
Shrek. Was he late to get his kids from school?
No, Shrek is all about his own well-being. He's taking care of himself.
Well, all right, Lizzie's staying. We got to talk TikTok. James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain.
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
"1993, tomorrow's the anniversary. Fleetwood Mac reforms so that they can preform at Bill Clinton's inauguration. I wonder if the Blue Jessica was there. You think Monica went to that inauguration? Oh, anyway, it doesn't make a difference. Don't Stop was the official song of the 1992 presidential campaign. So they milked it with the inauguration. I am getting hammered, folks. People telling me I'm being mean to Lizzie. I need to shut up, that I don't understand a damn thing about parents and what they have to go through at these schools with their kids. And Lizzie is right. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Wow. Okay. Lizzie.
Yes, Bo.
Can I tell you why I'm going to miss TikTok so much? Do you think it's going to go dark?
I'm really hoping not. I've already downloaded my entire TikTok data, my entire TikTok archive. I've downloaded it off of my desktop. I have it as a text file, as an enriched text file. I have thousands of videos saved onto my desktop now. So I'm good. Personally, I'm good. But I hope that for everyone else, that TikTok stays around.
I'm going to miss it if it goes. Let me give you an example of why I'm going to miss it if it goes.
So my kid's mom called me this morning and asked me if I could give her $300 to help her out with rent. And we haven't dated since 2015, so I don't normally do this kind of thing like ever, because I take care of my kids. I get them half the time. I'm a good dad, so it's not normal that I help her out with money any kind of way. And I just told her I needed a little bit to think about it and I would call her back. And before I had a chance to call her back, her sister called me. Her sister tells me that she doesn't actually need the money for rent. She's trying to get her new boyfriend out of jail because she wanted to be able to be close to him for his birthday. And so, that hit me some type of way, but I decided to call her anyway. I told her, come get the money, that I would help her out. I just figured, karma will bless me the way that I should be. So she came, she picked up the money. And about 2 hours later, I get a call from the county jail, and I accept the charges, and it's her, and she's screaming, and she's cussing, and she's crying, and she wants to know why I gave her counterfeit money. And I told her she wanted to be close to her boyfriend for his birthday, and so, happy birthday.
That man should go into creative writing, because that was 1,000% fake. I just have to say, that was 1,000% never happened, did not occur. This was pulled from some Reddit thread, 1,000%, and this guy was like, oh, I'm going to get so many views. I'm going to get so many comments. I'm going to get a bunch of yeah bros in the comments. And you know what he probably did? He probably did. I bet you he probably got like a bunch of hand praise emojis in the comments, a bunch of clap emojis, thumbs up, rock hand. This guy probably is raking it in too. Like, he's probably got some TikTok shop selling some fake vitamin that's making him thousands of dollars a month. Sorry to say that he's going to lose his source of income now, but this a lot of people are like small businesses. I have to say, I went out and I asked people on the streets of New York what they thought about the impending TikTok ban, and a lot of people mentioned small businesses. They said, I think it's going to be a bad thing for small businesses. And I've bought stuff from the TikTok shop, I have to say.
You have?
I have bought something from the...
I didn't even know that TikTok had a shop.
TikTok, it has an entire section, like an entire tab on its app.
What is it like? Is it powered by Temu?
Well, a lot of the stuff on there is like just, drop shipping like garbage. Yeah, it's just like garbage that's like drop shipped from some like website like that, Temu or Wish, and it's all just resold.
Wait a minute, I didn't even hear about Wish. What is that?
Wish is just another one of it's like Temu. It's the same thing. It's like a lot of like Chinese, manufactured goods. That
sounds racist.
Well, no, it's the truth.
That sounds xenophobic.
It's the truth.
That sounds very xenophobic. Lizzie.
Wish is a Chinese-based company. Wish is factual. It is a Chinese-based company.
But I mean,
what's racist about identifying it as Chinese? If you think that there's some
connotation
connotation attached to Chinese, that's
virus.
what's racist. That's what's racist is assuming some sort of connotation with Chinese. That's just a description. If you pull something from that, that's on you.
Next thing you know, you're going to be talking about the Chinese virus and all that stuff.
Well, what? All
right, but you don't think that look, all these Democrats that supported this thing, they're now backtracking.
Yeah, and
a few Republicans.
So is Biden. So is Biden himself. He's saying, "I won't even enforce it." He's not enforcing anything. First of all, he doesn't enforce.
Did he say
anything.
that today? He's not going to enforce it.
He said that on his way out. He said that he's not going to enforce the TikTok ban.
Oh, so there are no worries.
I mean,
so then why are they going dark?
Well, because essentially the law is that the TikTok has to either sell.
They don't want to break the law.
Yeah, sell or be banned from U.S. app stores. And I do want to let people know that it's not going to be just deleted from your phone if you already have TikTok. It will simply just not be available to download in U.S. app stores. But it should, and it won't be available for software updates or anything like that. So eventually it will become unusable in the country. But we'll see. We'll see. The Supreme Court has, ruled against it yesterday. They ruled in favor of that law upholding the ban. But Trump has been very vocal that he wants to do something, either, an executive order delaying the ban or pushing it, giving them some more time to sell it. But I really don't understand, what the algorithm or the national security concern really is. I mean, I get it. They're selling data.
The national security concern is that the commies are taking all data from 170 million people. But we got to go, Lizzie. We got to go. Hard break. All that. Sorry. Thank you, Lizzie. Love you, Lizzie.
Much love, Bo.
We'll be back, folks. Our number duo continues. Keep it right here, the Saturday Morning Vibe. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley. Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
And Protecting Your Future this week, we have a story for you that has a lot of implications. The story is in the Wall Street Journal, a tale of two state insurance markets. And it's contrasting what's taking place in California with insurance, especially in light of the disastrous fires there, and what is happening in the state of Florida. Now, the article begins with Louisiana Senator John Kennedy saying this week to the publication The Hill that Republicans very soon may try to extend the national flood insurance program to other natural disasters. He has said that the GOP in the past has resisted, he and the GOP, to reform the flood program, but now they're seeing the urgency. And why is that? Because of what is happening in California and other places. In California, Democrats, their insurance commissioners have for years suppressed the true rates that insurance companies wanted to solve to charge in order to stay solvent. Until recently, California was the only state that prohibited insurance companies from using catastrophic models to project disaster risk. In other words, they wouldn't even let the insurance company model what could happen, like what just happened. And as a result, a lot of insurance companies, I might add, this is not in the article, left the state. Insurers are paying out for wildfires $1.09 in expenses for every dollar they collect in premiums. So the liabilities are just exploding. And something is going to have to be done. Now, Princess Di will be glad to hear this because it's her favorite governor. Ron DeSantis, the Wall Street Journal says, went after tort reforms in 2022 and 2023. He got rid of frivolous lawsuits to insurance companies. They stabilized the market. They reduced the state insurance carriers' exposures. So supposedly, Florida is a direct contrast to what's going on with California. Now I will tell you this. I know residents of Florida that are still not happy with their insurance schemes. But the point is this, to protect your future. You, I, all of us need to really take, it is so difficult reading through these policies. The lawyer talk, the legalese, if you're not a lawyer, understanding everything is extremely difficult. But here's something. In light of the fires, in light of the hurricane seasons that come through, a review. What happens if? What happens if any one of these natural disasters were to wipe your property out? Do you have enough insurance to cover? What would be the plan? Do you have enough insurance? By the way, let's say, like many people of a certain age, you have a bunch of collectibles that you've accumulated over the years. Are they insured? What would it take if, God forbid, something to your property like what we've seen in California and all you're doing is walking through rubble? If not, part of got to have a plan. Got to have a plan. Because we are living in an age where there's another article today in the, I think it's the Los Angeles Times, that shows a public adjuster walking through properties. Public adjusters are ones that you can turn to help negotiate with you with insurance companies when you don't agree with their decision making. But one thing is vitally clear. You have to have a plan for the worst case scenario, especially if you're living these days in coastal areas or anywhere where horrific weather conditions or other natural disasters could happen. And no, I am not saying man-made climate change is increasing. We've had hurricanes, we've had fires, we've had threats since the beginning of human existence. Part of what it is to be human. But also part of what it is to be human is you can prepare. And you should prepare. So there you have it. Let's get back to the telephones. Let's get to talk with Ralph in Manhattan, New York. How are you this morning, Ralph?
As usual, great to talk to you. Here's the thing. You were talking to Liz about the shoplifting situation. I guarantee you, I could not walk into a Duane Reade, where I'm very New York-centric, I'll say Duane Reade. I could not walk into a Duane Reade, walk out with $900, what's the limit, $950? $949 of stuff, walk cavalierly past the security guy and just walk out the door. I guarantee that's not going to happen. Maybe because I'm dressed nicely. Maybe because it looks like I'm not trouble. Maybe because I'm the wrong guy to do that. Maybe an unsavory character can do it a little bit better than I could. But I would like to, if I wasn't afraid of going to prison, I would conduct an experiment, James. And I would pick out my favorite things in one of these stores and walk out and see if these guys don't make a move toward me and arrest me. I guarantee I'd be arrested. I think it's a fallacy.
So why don't you think that other people are being arrested? Why do you think that is? Because this retail theft is happening. Look, I saw a video just the other day, of some place in Santa Monica. It's one of these that have become common, where it's two women in this case walking out with a whole shopping cart full of stolen goods and just putting it in their car.
Targeted stores that I think somehow they get by this mainstream thing. Because frankly, James, you can't believe that around the country, anywhere, you can walk out unscathed by, just shoplift at will. But I will say one thing that's a pain in the rear end. I was going to say a bad word. A pain in the rear end is that your toothpaste, a stupid item like toothpaste, James, is locked up behind a cabinet because these people walk in, they pocket a few things. That I can see. But these heists that you talk about, it's just not happening on a regular basis.
Yes, it is. Let me tell you something. I will not mention the store because I don't want to encourage it at all. But I got to believe the criminals already know it. There is one very high-profile home goods store, and I'm not using home goods as a store. I'm not talking about them. But stuff that you buy for your home. Like all kind of stuff. It's a big. And their security forces, believe it or not, I happen to know this because I know people at work, they are not allowed to apprehend people. They can talk to them. They can go try to confront them verbally. But if they walk out the door, they are not allowed to grab them, hold them, do anything. And there are fears of that. And employees will get fired in some cases. There is a legal atmosphere surrounding almost everything in this country now that is untenable and unbelievable. Stores are worried about what happens to them. What happens if, for instance, they try to apprehend somebody, and that person ends up, in a horrible way? They're worried about the liability. It's a mess out here, and you do see it. You see it in cities where the Soros prosecutors are out of control and believe that there is some social justice underpinning all of this, where the poor people are finally getting a chance to get what's theirs, and it doesn't matter because the big stores have insurance and they can afford it anyway. You give me another reason why these laws were put in place in the first place, that allow people to walk out with hundreds of dollars of merchandise at a time. Ralph, it is happening. What do you think?
I can't dispute a lot of what you just said. I took it all in. You're right about most of it. But it's an exercise in futility, if you will, to have a cat standing there with a fake uniform and showing some sort of authority when he really has no power. I mean, This guy has no power. Now, I don't know if he should use bodily force. You have to gauge the situation. It's like a cop, James, run down a side street, taking people's lives in their hands just to catch a speeder. You gotta pick and choose your spots. I don't say the guy should have authority to go and clamp onto the guy and arrest him with a gun and cause all kind of ruckus. But this guy he has no power whatsoever. The whole thing stinks, and I understand that. But I do think it's not really truthful, or maybe not quite the case, that everybody can walk in just willy-nilly and steal whatever they want to steal. I don't think it's that bad as you portray it.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. And if I wish I could show you videos, because I'd get you to change your tune. The smash and grabs still out of control. They're happening. People walking out because they feel entitled, happening. But for another day. Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate you so much. Let's go to New Jersey and catch up with Joey real quick. Joey, how are you?
Hey, it's Jerry. And
I'm sorry, Jerry. How are you?
My pleasure. Everything's great. Two points. I wanted to just tag on to that. It goes much further than this facade of having an officer or a person dressed up in a uniform standing there. If you had any idea how this transcends beyond just stores and had an idea how many bank robberies happen in a day, we don't publicize in the banking business how many bank robberies actually happen, but they're happening every stinking day. So this goes way beyond just someone doing smash and grabs. It is emboldening the bad guys to go beyond that. So that's number one. But I wanted to talk about insurance in Florida, James. I just went through the ordeal of trying to get homeowners insurance in Florida. First thing they ask is, how old is your roof? You can't have a roof older than 5 years old in Florida to get any kind of insurance. And if you do, you have to sign papers stating that in any way, shape, or form, if wind, rain, or flooding is involved, you are not covered. So basically, fire is about all you can get in Florida. You can get liability, but you cannot really get any type of insurance that's going to protect your home. The only thing you really have when you buy these houses is the property that they stand on. And I think it's a real shame.
Whoa. Joey, I'm going to thank you for the call, for your point of view. I'm going to let some other people weigh in on that as we go along. Appreciate the call very much. We've got to take a quick break. Coming back, more of your calls. So keep it right here. Princess Di's coming up, America's Small Caffeinated Mom. Rhonda Shrock coming up, too, later in the program. Your calls. Tomorrow's the birthday for Mickey Virtue, keyboards, UB40. Of course, this is their big one, 1988 in the U.S. It went number one. Took it 2 years, but then it had a rebirth and went number one over in the U.K. Red Wine. They've had over 30 other top 40 hits. UB40. James Golden. You be here on the Saturday Morning Vibe. Stay here.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Please respect the chair's authority. The
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Holman!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer.
Yeah.
You work for me.
Yeah.
The witness will suspend.
Must be great riding with him. Is he picking you up after school today?
Yeah, at the end, that was that Jayapal lady that was getting ticked off because he took AOC to school. Oh, yeah. Hey, Carlos, who's this?
This is American girl group, the Shangri-Las. No, Shangri-Las.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Who?
This is American girl group Shangri-Las that had this go to US #1 and UK #11 called The Leader of the Pack, the Shangri-Las.
Ah, I got it. Oh, thank you. It was on tomorrow's the anniversary of the Shangri-Las. Yeah, cool, man.
Tomorrow,
okay, ladies and
January
gentlemen.
19th, 2024.
Thank you, Carlos. James Golden. Snerdley with you here. Let's hit the phones really quick. Tina in Maryland, you're up next. Hi, Tina.
Hello,
Welcome.
Mr. Golden. Thank you. So I was calling about the story of the school in Texas that charged parents for picking up their children late.
Mm-hmm.
So as a school employee myself, I agree with the school system, and one good reason, we send big yellow school buses around every day to pick these kids up. There's no reason to be sitting in a line for an hour. Put your kid on the bus.
Oops. Aha.
Yeah,
Why do you
I worked
suppose?
for a school system in Virginia for a short time. Well, actually for 17 years, not a short time. And if there was a traffic jam and the school buses were running late and your kid got off the bus at school an hour late because of a traffic jam, they were not marked tardy. But if you were in the line for drop-off and you got caught in that traffic, you were tardy because you had the choice of putting your child on the bus and you choose to drive them in because maybe they're too good to ride a school bus.
Ooh, little class warfare going on here. Well, Tina, you shed some interesting light on that, and I do appreciate the call very much. Thank you for weighing in. See? Okay, let's check in the Catskills with Chris. Chris, how are you this morning?
Good morning, James. I saw some good live music last night at the Charles Newberry Hotel, believe it or not, in Coxsackie, New York, along the Hudson River, a high-end hotel that was just built. And the musician Philip Mazzario is the editor and head writer of Gun Digest. And what a gracious man, nice man he was. Had a couple conversations with him. I wanted to talk about the hearings for Trump's appointments. And I thought it was...
Go ahead. What happened?
They were very complimentary of Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio during these hearings. But conversely, I'd like to see some of the Republicans ask some tough questions of some of the weaker candidates like Pete Hegseth or Kristi Noem. So I think that when elected officials are afraid to ask tough questions and be transparent of a president's appointments if they're on the weak side.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you some Kristi Noem. We can't play it all, but I'll give you a little bit. Cut 17. We're going to do this, and we're cutting it close with time. So you got to hit it right now. Here's Connecticut Senator
that I've led
Blumenthal
to help
Kristi Noem.
reunite children with their parents, children who were separated as a result of the so-called family separation policy in the last administration. I have introduced a measure called Keep Families Together, not only to limit separation of families at or near ports of entry, but also the Families Belong Together Act for several Congresses to help bring the children, the kids who were victims of this policy and who still are not back with their parents. I hope that you will support that kind of effort.
Senator, the Trump
Christy
administration never had a family separation policy. They had a zero tolerance policy, which said that our laws would be followed. What I'm alarmed by is the over 300,000 children that went missing during the Biden administration. And when we talk about children and what they're potentially facing as far as victimization in this country and the trafficking that's going on, this administration's lack of desire to find out where those children are or what they may be going through is alarming to me. So I want to stop that.
Because my time is expiring, I'm just going to interrupt again with apologies to say, let's put aside.
Well, I can't put aside
Let's put it all
340.
aside. Exactly right. We're doing just that. Coming up, Princess Di. Coming up, America's Small Caffeinated Mom when we move to our number trio. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show is on the air with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, our number trio, the Saturday morning vibe. Today is the day, of course. Unless your kids are going to Saturday school, you don't have to worry about paying fines to collect them. Now, there are people who do send their kids to Saturday school. Why are you shaking your head, Carlos?
Because they want to get rid of them on a Saturday? Why would they send them on Saturday?
No, because they want their kids to advance. So these are the kids that end up with the very high SAT scores.
I retract that, and I'm sorry for saying.
Yeah, these are kids that want. These are parents who want their kids to be very well educated, and maybe some of them want to get rid of them for a day. Anyway, welcome to our number trio, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you have been waiting. I have been waiting to see what the smartest woman in America has to say today and about what. So without any further ado,
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
The nest of all nests, Her Highness Nest, Her Royal Nest, is here to nest it up with yours truly. Princess Diana, welcome. How are you this morning?
I am, as always, so happy to hear your voice, Sir James. And you are the smartest man in America. I do not think my family would agree with your characterization of me as the smartest woman in America. Although
I'm sure they would.
I'm going to quote you next time I have any kind of disagreement from my family.
Well, thank you. I'm getting hammered, by the way. I'm still getting hammered. I'm getting hammered over this business. I said, pick up your kids. People are just outraged at me. Why don't you take kids to work? Seriously, James, you realize how many people have to go to work hours before school starts each day? Never mind. It's useless talking to you. You're an idiot. I am getting hammered over this. All I said was pick up your kids after school.
Well, there's also a third option, which is the parental pressure is put on the school to come up with a better system, because clearly you have two sides, both of which has good arguments. The parents really are trying, but they are too many of them for this particular system. And so they need to pressure the school to come up with that's the problem. The school's saying, well, this is our system and you've got to live with it. But schools also respond to political pressure, and maybe your story has put light on the situation.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm telling you, I'm getting nailed. It happens when you're early. The lines are long. Be respectful of Lizzie. Shut up. You're an idiot. You don't know what it's like for parents with kids. I'm going to school to have to wait in. Oh, my gosh. What did I walk into here?
Argument that I have heard before with you and Lizzie, and you've got the Lizzie generation who thinks life is unfair and other people need to fix it, and then you have our generation, which is like, you got to do what you got to do, suck it up, you got to, climb the ladder, starting at the lowest rung, and, so there's a consistent generational debate between the two of you, which unfortunately is not a settleable thing.
Well, what is settleable is jury verdicts.
Good transition there.
And CNN ran into a buzzsaw this week. Why don't you fill us in a little bit, Princess Di?
Well, this is a wonderful weekend in anticipation of the wonderful inauguration ceremonies on Monday. And so I didn't want this wonderful story to get past us, which was Friday's jury decision to hold CNN accountable for libeling, defaming a Navy veteran who took them to court over a 2021 story they did where they literally defamed him. And the jury came back and awarded Zachary Young, is his name, $5 million in compensatory damages against CNN. And then the jury had answered the question, is our punitive damages warranted? And the jury said yes. And then the jury asked, how much is CNN worth? And immediately CNN settled the case because they saw the direction. They had already lost $5 million to this guy, legitimately. I'll explain in a minute. But also the jury was clearly willing to take much more from CNN's pockets. And so all of a sudden, CNN has settled for an undisclosed amount, and we may not ever know how much that was. But I think CNN got off easy because the jury was ready to lower the boom on them. And the reason was because of the internal communications that were discovered in discovery in this case, in which CNN people called this fellow, the Navy contractor, who was going in to rescue people from Afghanistan as it collapsed in the pullout that Biden did. He was going in to rescue people. And CNN basically accused him of being on the black market and that he was preying upon the victims in Afghanistan. And the internal communications CNN had at the time, this was actually a Jake Tapper story where he said these things. The CNN internal communications called this fellow as having a punchable face and that they were going to nail this MFer. So they had the desire to ignore all other information and to basically crucify this guy in public opinion, which they did. He lost all business. He lost his security clearance, and he was damaged in many ways that, were proven true in this trial. And I want to read one of the quotes from the reporter at the time, Katie Bo-Lillis. She was asked, "You didn't think about whether the story might blow up Mr. Young's life, did you?" And she said, "Not particularly, no." She was asked whether she cared about the consequences of her story for Mr. Young. "Yes, but it was a lower consideration than to other constituents that I had responsibilities toward, the Afghans." So she, in her mind, her responsibility was to CNN's constituency, which was the Afghans and not the American who had gone in there risking many things to rescue them. And so that answer sort of tells you the story of the arrogance of CNN. And the judge throughout this trial was so annoyed with with CNN's lawyers, he basically told them, your credibility is about none with me. And he accused them of lying. He was not happy with it. And so the jury had the same impression, obviously, of the CNN staffers and their arrogance. And so they are paying dearly, and rightly so. And it comes in the context of several other lawsuits, one of which now CBS is considering settling with Donald Trump he sued them for $10 billion for election interference with the Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview, in which they switched around what she said and edited her answers to make them sound like they made sense. And so Trump is suing CBS for election interference for $10 billion. And all of a sudden, they are talking about, according to the Wall Street Journal, talking about settling with Trump because they now have business before the Trump FCC. And Brendan Carr, who is the incoming chairman, is saying that they are going to make fairness an explicit issue of a deal that CBS wants to make with Paramount, which is an acquisition merger with Skydance Media. So it looks like they are going to settle too after ABC settled last month in December because of what George Stephanopoulos said. They settled for $16 million in a defamation case, plus $1 million in legal fees. So the tide has turned with the media not being able to bully the American people and even presidents anymore, and even people who are, have been seen as fair game by the leftist media for generations. And so this is a welcome thing I want us all to enjoy as we come into Monday's wonderful celebration.
I have the CNN lawyer. We don't have to listen to it all. It's cut 18, Carlos. But this pitch that he's making to the jury. Now, this is after they came back and said, yep, you defamed him. You're liable. But before they went to start discussing, this is at the point, I guess, right after this when they said, how much is this company worth? So let's listen to the pleading, just for a minute, from CNN's lawyer to the jury after they found CNN liable.
You heard General Young, plaintiff's expert, testify, and he kind of made this offhand comment, and I thought it was very interesting. He said he was watching the coverage of the wildfires in Los Angeles, which are really heartbreaking. And he said that CNN's coverage was outstanding. And he wasn't wrong. Because when natural disasters break out, CNN is there. And that's hurricanes, that's wildfires, that's earthquakes. When conflicts erupt, like some of the ones we've heard in this case, CNN's there. And
they're there.
And providing all of that content, that really important content's expensive.
Expensive.
But it has a really tremendous value. Because we as Americans need to understand what our fellow Americans are going through if they're in California, or if they're on the Gulf Coast and get hit by a hurricane, or if there's an earthquake in Northern California, or if there's a war in Ukraine. All those things are really valuable. So you've made a decision that CNN's liable, but that doesn't mean that there isn't, a reasonable path forward. So over the next few hours, and I hope it doesn't take that long, you're going to hear about CNN's net worth. And you're going to see that the net worth of the company is actually in a subtle decline. You're also going to hear about the headwinds facing the entire media environment. Media is changing really quickly.
So that's enough of that. So the lawyer is basically saying, look, CNN does great work. They cover wildfires. They cover everything. It's really valuable. And you're going to hear how CNN, they're in a subtle decline. Oh, no. And this stuff is really expensive to do. So please don't hit them up with a lot of money. They have to cover the news.
Well, then they read the room and saw that they were going to have to pony up a lot of money. And also the defense lawyer pointed out, the researcher that they put on the stand, that CNN was bringing in $5 million per day. So this idea of a subtle decline, that may be true that they are losing some advertising because they're losing audience, which is their one job, but they are perfectly able to pay this one award. They just probably didn't want to pay the billions that were going to be taken from their pockets.
Love it. Princess Di, hold on, please. We take a quick break. Got to ask you about a few other things coming into T-2, 2 days before the Trump inauguration. January 18th, 1989. 38 years old. Stevie Wonder becomes the youngest living person to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The ceremony was held in New York at the Waldorf. Rolling Stones got inducted that year. Temptations, Otis Redding, Dion DiMucci. Stevie in the Hall of Fame. 38 years old, the youngest nominee inducted. James Golden, Princess Di is here. Coming back in a moment.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Given everything that was in place when he took office, COVID, the economic challenges, do you think that this was in some ways inevitable? And how do you think history will judge this presidency?
I think that he will go down as one of the greatest presidents we ever had. I think the same thing about Jimmy Carter, who we just funeralized. Jimmy Carter left the presidency with very, very low ratings. Harry Truman, the same thing. People who do big things, people who break with the status quo, these people do not get judged well in the currency. But when history gets a chance to look back, to read the things he said and did, rather than to respond to the way he said them. I heard people this morning or last night talking about him not being a great communicator. Well, some people are good speakers. Other people are great doers. And some people just know how to write. And that is what it's all about. We are judging people on substance when we look back on them, not on style. If you're looking for style, Joe Biden is not your guy. On substance, he's everybody's person.
Yeah. Stevie brings us back. That was James Clyburn. Joe Biden, like Jimmy Carter, who we just funeralized, some of the greatest presidents ever. What do you think about that, Princess Diana?
I think that Clyburn is defending himself. As you know, he was very instrumental in making the Biden presidency happen by having all the other Democrat primary contestants drop out. And suddenly that was Clyburn's doing, that Biden was able to get the nomination. So he is looking for his own legacy, which I don't think that he was very persuasive.
All right. Okay, let me ask you this in the few minutes we have remaining. We're already seeing panic beginning to spread. I have an article in the New York Times, Doctors and Nurses Should Get Ready for Mass Deportations, written by Danielle Orff. She is a primary care doctor in New York. I will go through it a little bit later. I mean, the hysteria is all out there. You have stories today. The Trump mass deportations are going to start in Chicago on Tuesday. Oh, no. You have school board ladies declaring that they're going to resist, and they're going to resist and make sure that Trump doesn't hurt the children in the school, the businesses in the community. And when did school boards become in the vanguard of saving illegal immigrants from Donald Trump? How does that work with their mandate to teach kids? I don't know. But the panic is beginning to spread. It starts Tuesday. In Chicago, if the news reports are right. Any predictions, any thoughts on how this is going to play out, Princess Di?
Well, I think that we fortunately do not have to get all of our information from the mainstream media, which is going to have one mission, and that is find hard cases of heartbreak and fluff them up and make them these stories. So you're going to have an unfortunate person who is suffering from a disease and he can't get his medical care anymore, his chemo, because mean Donald Trump is kicking him out of the country. There will be all kinds of sub stories, because this is what the only thing that the media has right now is there to prove, quote unquote, that Trump is doing this all wrong. And the fact that they have tried this for 8 years and they failed tremendously because Trump won on this issue both times. And so, fortunately, I think we will have alternative sources to find out exactly what's happening. And I think that the vast majority of Americans are going to be cheering, getting rapists and murderers and all kinds of criminals out of our cities and out of our communities. And so the media is going to fail once again.
Princess Di, thank you. I want you to consider perhaps Monday on Inauguration Day. Perhaps we speak, if that's okay with you. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Princess. As always, such a pleasure.
The day one dictator, I will want to follow that on the first day.
All right. We're coming back, folks. Your phone call's coming up next. Keep it right here. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
You are feeling stressed out about the upcoming inauguration and you want a way to take care of yourself that day, please come join us for the online post-election support group, and this time during inauguration support group. We meet via Zoom at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Monday, the 20th. We meet every other Monday. I can leave a link to sign up in a comment below. And yeah, it's a chance to be around like-minded people who are really compassionate, let some of your feelings out, and we might do some little activities to calm our nervous systems together too. It is by donation, $5 to $30 sliding scale, and if you need to come for free, you can do that too.
Yeah, if you're feeling bad, go pay $30 so you can hang out with other people feeling bad for Inauguration Day. Stevie Wonder. I got a note from Ed Shea that Bob Babbitt was the bass player on Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. Ed Shea, of course, worked with the great Tom Bell, worked with so many other musicians, Johnny Mathis, so many others that are just amazing icons. And I'm going to do a podcast with him in the coming week. So, anyway, there's that. Thank you, Ed. I also can't wait. I'm going to do a podcast soon with my good friend Robert. Yeah. So we got so many things going on. Anyway. Your calls. Yeah, we're still going to play some Stevie Wonder. 38 years old on this day in 1989. Youngest living person to be inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. By 38, he had more hits than most people have in their entire careers. Seriously. Telephone time. Veronica in California, you are up next. How are you, Veronica?
I'm so fine, and you. Love you.
Thank
real
you.
Fast. Real fast. You were asking about Sade's real name. Helen follow Sade, I do.
Got it.
Okay.
I had it almost right. I pulled a Carlos, tried to pronounce it, and Carlos, don't look like that. You look so hurt. But I mean, it was cool. I almost got it, just like you almost get it, Carlos. I felt empathy. But pronounce it one more time. Sade's last name, her full name.
Helen
Veronica.
follow Sade, I do.
Okay, Helen Falashade. I do.
Yes.
Okay. Well, cool. Appreciate that tidbit. Thank you so much. Looking forward to Inauguration Day out there, Victoria?
Yes, I am. Very much so. And I have friends who's there and disappointed that it's moved inside. But they love it. I've red-pilled them, and they're there before me.
Wonderful. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Tom has been waiting in Woodbridge. You are up next. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, just wanted to share my opinion on a piece that I read by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and it's concerning the J6 protesters that have been languishing in prison literally since 2021 rather. Trump should make it his top priority to free those prisoners, pardon them, and not only pardon them, but also initiate a means of compensating them financially for losing their jobs, losing their homes in many cases, having deteriorating health while they've been in prison. Many of them have been tortured, abused by prison staff. And again, you're not talking about teenagers. Many of these people are elderly, and they had pre-existing health conditions that were simply exacerbated by that incarceration. So compensating them for that time. Because if that was one of his signature campaign issues, was actually pardoning on day one, and he has to live up to that for a variety of reasons, not just because it's right in and of itself, but it also signifies that the people that did that to them, the justice quote-unquote system that incarcerated these people for, in many cases, just simply trespassing, being detained indefinitely without charge, being charged with felonies for what should have been charged misdemeanors. And again, the abuse of the legal system, judicial system, for political reasons by Merrick Garland and all of his thugs in the FBI and the federal police agencies. These people need to be held accountable for what they did to not only Donald Trump, but all of these ordinary American citizens. And God knows how many other people who have been hunted down and harassed by police agencies simply for their political allegiance.
I will say this. I agree with you, except for those that went in and committed violence or vandalism. And in some cases, if their terms would have already been, if they were sentenced normally, and not harshly, if their terms would have already been expired, then of course they should be let out as well. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, day one may be difficult because he's got a lot to do on day one, and he said he's going to go through them case by case. We assume his team is already doing that, and we're assuming that there will be many that will be pardoned. So appreciate the call, and thank you for waiting and sharing that in such an effective manner. E. Frank in Astoria, New York. How are you, E. Frank?
Yes, how are you, James? First and foremost, I want to wish a belated Happy New Year to Jacqueline out in Brooklyn and Tony out
Look, we don't have time to do all that stuff. I need you to get to your point. E. Frank, you've been waiting a while, so please to your point.
Yeah. Do you think that when Donald Trump takes over the White House, there'll be a massive reduction in the out-of-control $1 trillion deficit?
No, I don't. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think we're going to grow. The economy is going to grow. I think there are chances it could happen. Do I think it's going to happen when he takes over? Nope. In fact, Janet Yellen, the latest little hand grenade left from the Biden administration, Janet Yellen is warning, she's already out the door, officially walked out of the office, but until Monday, they're still in power, that on Tuesday, the day after Trump is inaugurated, the United States will reach its debt limit. So that's going to cause all kinds of machinations. Latest little hand grenade from the Bidens. So no, I don't expect that on day two. Dom, Minnesota, got to go quickly, please.
I think Joe Biden probably had ChatGPT write his farewell speech. He probably said, "Hey, ChatGPT, make me look good," and it came back, "Sorry, I was created by a tech oligarch, and I'm not programmed to lie."
We're going to have to leave the one-liner there. Got to take a quick break. America's Small Caffeinated Mom's going to come up. If we have time, more of your calls, but we're going to definitely see what's on the mind of America's Small Caffeinated Mom. Sounds like Dolly.
It is Dolly.
That's because Dolly has a birthday. It's tomorrow. The one, the only Dolly Parton, born in 1946. Of course, she wrote this. It's her song.
That's why I'm playing this, because like you shocked me the other day, because I really thought that was like Whitney from the beginning, and then you said, oh no, Dolly wrote that song, and then Whitney redid it. Like afterwards, and it just broke out with the movie and everything.
Yeah, and this is beautiful, of course. The one, the only Dolly Parton. Singer, songwriter, actress. Happy birthday. Tomorrow's the date for Dolly Parton. James Golden and Snerdley, keep it right here. Do not go away.
Oh, please don't cry, 'cause we both know that I'm not what you need. But I will always love you. I will always love you.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Yeah, one of the best music videos of all time came from Robert Palmer, British singer, songwriter, a member of Vinegar Joe, but he was also a member of the Power Station. Duran Duran members were in Power Station, as well as the Chic drummer Tony Thompson. What a group that was. And then solo artists, just amazing career. Robert Palmer, who passed away, young man, at age 54 back in 2003. So sorely missed, but his music, so awesome. Heavenly birthday, born tomorrow. The year was 1949. Robert Palmer. America's small caffeinated mom is in the house. Rhonda Shrock. Welcome, Rhonda. How are you this week?
Good morning, James. I'm doing great. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You do really have the best music on any talk radio show, period.
Well, thank you. What a compliment. Thank you.
Yes, I mean it.
Well, thank you again. I mean it. Rhonda, what is on your mind this week? What do you got for us this week, Rhonda?
Well, this week, I went back to school. I went back to high school, actually. Of course, it wasn't for me. It was for
Did you have to wait in line and pay a fee?
You know what? I got right in.
Okay.
I got right in. I was there on behalf of my 18-year-old son. I call him the Cub, who is a senior at the high school. And he has been this is the last of our 16 years at the local high school. We have 4 letter jackets in our closet that testify to our very long and very colorful tenure at the high school. And so as my last and final senior is coming through, I have watched him really working so hard this year. His senior year has been his hardest one yet in terms of his academics. And that's because he's taking some very difficult classes. He's taking advanced composition class from Indiana University. He's taking trigonometry with dual credits from Indiana University, and he's taking AP physics. So that kid has been working very hard. And so when they offered parent-teacher conferences, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go in, meet with his teachers, kind of see what they're seeing, see if there are ways that I can help make it easier at home, and just touch base with them. Well, I left the high school that night feeling so grateful. The 3 teachers that I spoke to were just phenomenal. They were so warm. They were intelligent. They were just wonderful. And I came home feeling very encouraged. And the whole encounter got me thinking about the teachers that I have had in the past I went back to kindergarten, and I remembered my teacher. Her name was Mrs. Belt, and we took naps on our little rugs. They don't do that anymore, but when I was in kindergarten, we did. Mrs. Cranston was my first grade teacher. She would put bright red lipstick on every day just before we marched down to the lunchroom, and she taught me to read. Our elementary school principal was a wonderful man who had had polio as a child, and he would walk up and down the halls, and you could hear the clicking of his brace. But he was a very kind man, and I liked learning from him. Well, then I, came through high school, and I found that life had lots of other teachers. Of course, pastors have been phenomenal teachers in my life. They've instructed me in the faith. My Sunday school teachers, we'd learn little Sunday school songs and the Bible stories. And then there were, as I've mentioned before, older women who taught me so many valuable things about how to be a good mother, how to be a good wife, how to just be a very strong and fearless woman. I learned so much from them. Some of my best teachers, as I reflected this week, have been my own 4 children. And I made a very rudimentary list of what I have learned from those boys over the years, things that I could not have probably learned from anyone else. I looked at their pure and simple childlike faith, and I recalled the ease and the rest that their childlike faith afforded them. It was really beautiful. And from their carefree little hearts, they just modeled joy. I thought about how quickly they would forgive me and extend grace to me when I had blown it. And believe me, Mother blew it very often. And all I had to do was go and say to them, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. Please forgive me. And immediately that forgiveness would come. And I remembered that example is how life should work. That's how relationships and repair should look in adulthood, but it gets so messy and complicated and hard. But in their childlike world, that's how it was. I just watched them in action, and I saw the simplicity in which they lived and moved, and it was inspiring. They showed me, those 4 boys, how selfish I could be. And believe me, it was not always a pleasant realization, because parenting is hard, and it will bring out the worst in you, but it can bring out the best in you. And they called me to a level of selfless living that I would not have attained before had I not been responsible for these 4 souls. And that was a benefit to me. Any time that we can become more selfless, it is a great gain and good to us. They taught me, too, about the destructive nature of too much control. I thought about how my oldest son, when he was a freshman one day, he came home from school, and that maternal radar, it just started pinging. And I could just tell by the look of him that something was not right. And so I said to him, are you okay? And he said, yes. Are you sure you're okay? Yes. I think something's wrong. If there is, you could tell me. And he looked at me, and with real respect in his voice and in his quiet way, he said this, Mom, if I tell you nothing's wrong, it's either because there is nothing wrong or I'm not ready to talk about it. I was stunned. Yes. I appreciated that respectful rebuke. And what he was doing that day was handing me a tool on how to have a good and healthy relationship with him. I appreciated that. He was teaching me as a freshman, that's for sure, and I received that gladly. When one of our other sons was traveling the world, I learned, because of him, that God could be everywhere that I could not be, and he was at all points on the globe. And there was nothing I could do should he run into trouble. So I learned that God could be in all those hard and faraway places, and that I could trust him with this kid of mine who had the travel-y gene. I also learned, because of him, that my stretch marks as a mother were never going to stop. That was quite a realization. But I also learned that in that stretching, and any time you stretch, it burns and there's pain. But if you allow the stretching and you breathe into it, it will always bring a greater ease, and it will bring gifts into your life. So that was helpful for me to have to trust God even further than I had before, and to also trust my son that he was being a mature and responsible adult when he was so far away from any of my control. Motherhood also taught me the rewards of patience. Unfortunately, James, as you know, growing kids is not like nuking a Hot Pocket in the microwave. It's a long and grueling process. And I thought about my garden and how much work that garden has been. It has taken us some years to build up the soil so that the soil can produce these incredible vegetable plants that I can now grow. When I get them in the ground, I'm checking for insects, checking for blight. There is planting and weeding and watering and pruning and all the things, and it takes time. It takes months in my garden before the fruit begins to appear. Well, it is like that, only more with parenting. And so when I went to the high school this last week, I saw the beginnings of the fruit of that patient parenting. Through the eyes of 3 teachers, I saw my son and who he is, even when he is away from home. They told me about his compassion, his goofball humor, his questions that they love to receive, and his intelligence. And one of his teachers who knows him so very well, he was his cross-country coach, looked at me and said, "He is a pleasure to have in my class." And I knew that I was hearing the rewards of my patience and of his own good choices. And I was so full of just gratitude and happiness, not just for my son, but for the professionals who work with him. So to all of the teachers who, like the ones I met with this week, are investing their very lives into our children, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. To the parents who are toiling in their own gardens, I want to say keep going. Don't stop. The fruit will come one day. It's what plants do. They produce fruit. And your hard work will one day be rewarded. So don't stop. Keep going. To all the good-hearted people who, by their very lives and examples, are teaching those around them, I just want to say, bless you. You are a delight. You are a light in this world. Keep teaching. That's what was on my mind this week.
Wow. That is wonderful, Rhonda. And you are a light on this show. You said something that I just want to say for a moment that it really hit me when you said it, when you said God is everywhere all around the globe. I just want to comment on that to say God is everywhere in the universe at once and the universes at once. There is nothing beyond it. And so these gems that you drop on us each week, Rhonda, they're just terrific, and we appreciate it. Where can people find the essay, and where can people find you?
The essay to all the teachers is on the Daily BS, and of course, they can visit me at rhondashrock.com.
Thank you, as always, Rhonda. Such a delight, such a pleasure. Appreciate you being here.
James. Thank you.
Well, my friends, that wraps it up for this morning. We got to go. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you. Your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude always for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. Looking forward to Inauguration Day and what lies beyond. In the meantime, I bid you adieu. Bye.